Hey everybody, welcome to episode 47 of the return policy, and today I'm going to be doing a mini review on the Basstop branded rear panel replacement for your Nintendo Switch. In this case, it is the Michelangelo edition. So this has essentially turned into kind of a three-part review of completely transforming my Nintendo Switch, where it started with the Joy-Cons in the orange, and then I'd follow it up with the replacement for the dock, which it made a little bit cool, smaller, and a little bit more travel friendly. And finally, the last piece was to replace the back panel of my actual console itself. More for curiosity and also just for a little bit of that unique customization. But all in all, this is what I wanted to try and do and kind of report back and do a review on it. So anyways, I just wanted to show off kind of a quick time-lapse style video of the installation of the Basstop replacement back panel for my Nintendo Switch. And so since I didn't want to do a in-depth unboxing, as you can tell, there wasn't that much to unbox, or at least to show off of the packaging. It's just a clear package with the replacement panel right inside, and so I just wanted to get right into it and kind of show the installation and taking apart the back panel, but in a slightly more fast forward and expedited way. First off, I just wanted to explain myself on getting that awesome green one. Since I'm a huge fan of Ninja Turtles, technically Michelangelo isn't really my favorite. I want to say that Raphael is cool but rude, and therefore he is my my ultimate favorite Ninja Turtle. But picking out the color, there's a smoky kind of translucent, there's the green as you can see, also another orange, and even a purple to represent some more Donatello. But since I already had the orange Joy-Cons, I thought about, you know what, let's go ahead and just complete the Michelangelo look and go with the translucent green. And since green in general is my favorite color, I just went with it anyway, so totally. So the process of taking apart the back panel for the Nintendo Switch was nowhere near as difficult as it was for replacing the left and the right Joy-Cons. And thanks again for the jerry-rig everything tutorial video that I constantly poured over and rewound and watched over and over again. As for the directions to taking apart my the back panel for my Nintendo Switch and then replacing it with a third-party panel like this one here. And so watching that video definitely made it a lot more simpler than trying to go about it my own way. But all in all, as far as taking it apart, it wasn't too bad. You just got to keep your tiny little screws in check, whether through a screw tray or just keeping an eye on them and not accidentally knocking them over, like as I'm prone to do. But once you got the back panel off, it just kind of unclips, slides off. Make sure you take out the SD card to be safe. You can even disconnect the kickstand if you need to, but other than that, it was pretty straightforward and pretty well explained on those videos. Now, putting on the replacement back panel, that wasn't that much tricky. You're just basically reversing the instructions of removing the original back panel. But one warning that I wanted to give was, even though I ordered this off Amazon and it was from the same company that I had bought the replacement Joy-Con, as well as even the Nintendo dock replacement kit, and the one that I got in the mail was actually quite warped, to be honest. You can kind of tell. Here, I'm going to throw up a photo, and you can easily tell that it was definitely bent out of shape. And so even though I was very reluctant and kind of curious whether to kind of return and ask for a replacement, I already thought to myself, well, I'm already about 50% there, and I already took apart, eagerly took apart my my Nintendo Switch back panel, so I might as well go with it. So what I ended up doing was just making sure that everything was secured, and it was just kind of locked in place. All the screws were fastly secured and everything was good to go. And so I just wanted to make sure that everything was well tied down before I put everything back together. And so I made the choice, even though it does give you a replacement kickstand. In this case, it was a translucent green kickstand. I kind of wanted to keep the contrasting colors, just for more personal preference. So I kept the original Nintendo kickstand, so it kind of gives a nice little contrast, along with the cartridge slot holder up at the top. So you get a little bit of variety in color, not too much, but it was just kind of my choice to keep the dark gray original kickstand, which works and functions just fine. And I do want to say that it actually functions a lot better now that it wasn't damaged by the Nyko metal kickstand from a previous review. So to be honest, this was actually helpful in both ways, both giving me a cool little unique Nintendo Switch back panel, as well as repairing the damage that was done by the Nyko metal kickstand. But all in all, the process was pretty painless. I just made sure I followed the directions, made sure I followed all the placement for the screws. What I recommended for anybody that knows how to take apart small things, sure, as long as you have the right tools. In this case, the thin enough screwdrivers. I tend to get a little bit too excited if I use the wrong screwdriver and I end up stripping the screws. So that's definitely a headache and a risk and a headache if that happens. But as long as you're careful and definitely take your time, everything should work fairly smoothly. So in the end, with all that said and done into the process, which is actually not that difficult, replacing the back panel as opposed to your Joy-Cons themselves, I actually did think the experience wasn't too bad, wasn't too difficult. The instructions were there, thanks again to looking up that YouTube video from Jerry Rig Everything, and it was extremely helpful to replace the back panel. But as far as what I wanted to say about this one here, and through the photos and just kind of looking, the one that I got through Amazon in the mail, it was definitely a little bit warped on that green portion, so I was very skeptical when I was actually installing it onto the Switch. In the end, with a little bit of tightening of the screws and just a whole lot of faith that it will hold, it does fit, and eventually I hope it'll stay on there for the foreseeable future, unless I decide to invest in another color. But as far as what I think, if it's a very worthy purchase, it's really just aesthetics, to be honest. You can go about just keeping with the exact same back panel that came with your Nintendo Switch, throw on a couple vinyl stickers and call it a day. But I really wanted to go the full length of transforming the Joy-Cons, the dock, as well as the back panel, and just kind of see how difficult, how fun, and how convenient in the end it would be. So my final review for the Basstop branded replacement back panel for your Nintendo Switch is actually a return it. I think it's still very nice. I did have a few kind of hiccups, especially the more kind of unsure, kind of a warped plastic one that I received. So your mileage may vary based on where you get it, how you get it, and which brand that you decide to go with. In this case, mine was visibly warped. I still went for it, installed it, and I'm still happy that it came out the way it did. But as far as my review, I would say this one is a return it. Anyways, I just want to say thank you so much again for taking the time to watch these little mini reviews of mine. If you thought this was in any way informative, whether to interest you or deter you from investing into a replacement back panel for your Nintendo Switch, go ahead and hit that like button. If you thought this was definitely uninteresting, go ahead and hit that dislike button. That's cool too. Otherwise, if you want to stick around for that semi-long run with me, make a few more of these mini reviews, including everything Nintendo, maybe some toys, maybe a little bit more, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well too. Well, other than that, thanks again very much, and I'll see you next time.